Hey guys, welcome back to the Frost Dog Garage. This is just a quick update on some of the things I've got going on with the build. I've run into a wiring issue and I just wanted to bring it to people's attention because inevitably some of you are going to run into the same thing if you haven't already. But I've got my dash here just temporarily mounted in place. There's the gauges, and as luck would have it, I start wiring my gauges into the Ron Francis harness, and the very last gauge that I do is the oil pressure gauge. So this is the wire that came with the GPS vintage gauges, and here, this connector that goes into the back of the gauge has got 3 wires. Well, the Ron Francis harness only allows for 2 wires, which is how the gauges used to be. So that 3rd wire, that red wire, is what's causing the issue. Because here, this is the Ron Francis harness. It goes to the sending units, or it's a sending unit harness right here. And as you can see, it's got the colored wires, water temperature, oil pressure is the gray one. Sometimes I forget what the light blue one is, but it's one of the other gauges. And then it has 3 dedicated black ground wires for each of those. So not really a problem there, except that now that oil PSI, the new gauge, has got that 3rd or red wire. So I guess you have to make a decision. There's a couple things you can do. For me, I had already cut it, so I ended up splicing it back together. And then I was just going to run this cable alongside the sending unit loom, and maybe I would just wrap them together to take care of that issue and just use the original connector or wire that came with the gauges. Haven't really decided exactly how I'm going to do that. I think I'll wait for the engine and transmission to arrive and get those installed, and then kind of see what my distances are, and then I'll figure that out. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention that is an issue that people will encounter, and it shows right here on the wiring harness schematic. This is for the Ron Francis sending units. Right there, you've got the light blue is oil temperature, the gray is the oil pressure, and then the dark blue is the water temperature. And then you've got the ground that branches off to have the 3 for each of those gauges there at the end of the harness. And then you have a tan and a dark green down here, which branch off a little bit earlier on the loom. It's hard to see as I pull it back up, but they branch off right here. And I think that some of their functions are going to be covered by the engine's EFI, but I'll find that out a little bit later. I'm not too concerned about that. But anyway, if I jump over here to the directions for the vintage GPS gauges, right here, so here's pressure, oil pressure, and here's the cable it's talking about. So white is the signal, black is the ground, and the red 5-volt reference wire is the problem. That's the one that's not accounted for in the Ron Francis. Right here, it's just not there. So, like I said, you can either run a separate wire, or I guess you could delete the sending unit portion of the harness altogether and just run all of the original cables together, maybe wrap them together or something. That's an option. It would definitely be easier to do before you've wrapped heat tape all over everything like I have. So I might just include that one wire and wrap it up along with the Ron Francis. There's one other thing to consider. So this is with the original cable that came with the gauges. I noticed that inside the rubber or plastic sheath, it is shielded. I'm not sure if that's shielding for heat or shielding for RFI, for any signal disruptions to the gauges. I'm not sure. I'll have to do a little research on that. Or if someone knows, if you just let me know in the comments. But I did notice that it's shielded, whereas the Ron Francis harness is not. If it's for temperature, no big deal, because the wires are all in a loom, and I've also wrapped them in the high temperature tape, so not too worried about that. If it's RFI, then I guess that's a different issue. Anyway, there's the update on that. Hopefully that'll help someone avoid some issues like I encountered. The other thing I wanted to show is I did get my Halibrands back from the powder coater, and I think that they turned out really nice. I was hesitant to even take them in the first place because they're very expensive, as everyone knows, and they were perfect to begin with if that was the look I was going to be going for, with the nice shiny aluminum polished and then the painted centers. But for this build, the look I'm going for, they really needed to be gloss black. So I took them to the powder coater. He promised me they would turn out perfect, and lo and behold, they did. They turned out really good. It was a little pricey because each wheel has 4 pieces to it. You've got the wheel itself, then you've got this cover that covers up the lugs, the 5-lug pattern, and then you've got the post here in the center, which feeds from the back, and then you've got the locker, or the knockoff. So each one has 4 pieces. It's a lot of pieces to have powder coated, but they blasted everything down, and then they powdered and baked them, and they turned out spectacular. There was a little bit of film on them when they came back that I cleaned off, and then after I cleaned them off, I took this, it's Adam's graphene ceramic spray coating, and I went ahead and put that on them. Just as a protectant and to make it a little bit easier to clean them in the future. But I can't wait to see how they look once they're on. But anyway, that's what they look like, and hope this all helped you guys out. If it did, please consider like, share, and subscribe. And I appreciate any comments you got. I'll respond to them as I see them. And I also really enjoy watching your videos. I love seeing builds come together. And this has been quite the adventure, but still really enjoying it. Even when I run into wiring issues, I was going to run into something. But you guys enjoy your builds. We'll catch you next time. And hopefully I can give you an update on some more wiring. And I think I'm going to jump into some of the trunk aluminum, so I'll be able to talk about that as well. But take care, guys. Enjoy.